Friends, have you ever spoken too soon and regretted it? Have you ever said something in anger only to see it ruin a relationship or an opportunity? Today, I want to share a secret that can change your life. A secret so simple, yet so powerful, that most of us overlook it. It's called keeping your mouth shut. Yes, you heard me right. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is nothing at all. When you learn the art of silence, life begins to speak to you in ways you never imagined. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is power. Silence is not weakness. Silence is wisdom. And today I'll show you how this one habit can transform your relationships, your career, and your peace of mind. Friends, think about the last time you spoke without thinking. Maybe it was a harsh word in the heat of anger, or a careless comment that seemed small at the moment but lingered in someone's mind for days, maybe even years. How often do we say things in haste, only to regret them almost immediately? Words are powerful. They have the ability to build, but they also have the power to destroy. And unlike actions, words cannot be taken back once they are spoken. You can apologize, explain, even beg for forgiveness, but the original impact of those words, their sting, their echo remains. I want you to imagine life as a delicate garden. Every word you speak is like a seed. Some seeds blossom into beautiful flowers, bringing joy, inspiration, and love. Others grow into weeds, choking the life out of relationships, trust, and opportunities. The secret is learning which seeds to plant and which to leave unsown. And one of the simplest, most powerful ways to do this is by keeping your mouth shut when you feel the urge to react impulsively. Silence is not weakness, it is a shield. It protects you from regret before it even happens. In moments of tension, in moments where emotions run high, it is silence that gives you the space to think clearly, to weigh your words, to pause before you plant a seed that may never bloom. It's like giving your mind a chance to breathe, to reflect, to ask, is this necessary? Will this add value? Will this harm? And in that pause, you gain wisdom, the kind of wisdom that prevents countless mistakes, heals countless relationships, and preserves your peace of mind. The world often teaches us that speaking up is strength, but true strength, my friends, sometimes lies in restraint. The ability to hold back your words, to resist the immediate impulse to respond, is a sign of a mature mind. It's a power that not everyone sees, but everyone feels. When you choose silence over reaction, you are not hiding, you are rising above. You are choosing thoughtfulness over impulsiveness, wisdom over haste, peace over conflict. And here's the most beautiful thing. When you speak less, when you measure your words start to matter more. People listen more intently, not just to what you say, but to the energy you bring, the calmness you exude. They feel your wisdom, not just hear it. And in that space, life begins to unfold in ways that words alone could never achieve. So, my friends, keeping your mouth shut is not about denying yourself a voice. It's about protecting yourself from the consequences of careless words. It's about allowing space for thought, for understanding, for empathy. It's about realizing that sometimes the most courageous, the most intelligent, the most transformative action you can take is nothing at all. Just pause, just breathe, just remain silent, and watch as life rewards you in ways you never imagined. Friends, have you ever noticed how rarely we truly listen? Not just hear words, but really listen, to understand, to feel, to connect. Most of the time, we're too busy preparing our next sentence, too caught up in our own thoughts, or too focused on defending ourselves to actually hear what another person is saying. And in doing so, we miss the most valuable things life is constantly trying to teach us. Listening is a hidden power. When you learn the art of silence, you open yourself to experiences and insights that are otherwise invisible. You begin to notice not just the words, but the tone, the pauses, the unspoken feelings behind them. Sometimes what is not said is far more important than what is spoken. A friend may say, "I'm fine," but if you listen, really listen, you'll hear the tremor in their voice, the hesitation, the subtle clues that reveal their true emotions. Listening transforms communication from a simple exchange of words into a bridge of understanding, empathy, and connection. And it's not just about understanding others, it's about understanding opportunities too. When you stop talking so much, you start observing more. You notice details, patterns, and possibilities that others overlook. A simple conversation can teach you lessons about life, work, relationships, and even yourself if only you pause and absorb it instead of rushing to respond. Silence sharpens your awareness. It turns ordinary moments into profound insights. Think about this. In meetings, in social gatherings, or even in casual chats, the person who speaks less often is the one people pay attention to. Why? Because their words carry weight. Their presence alone conveys calmness, wisdom, and thoughtfulness. And when you listen more than you speak, you gather knowledge, perspective, and understanding that speaking without thinking could never give you. Listening is also the secret to empathy. When you truly listen, you step into another person's world. You feel their struggles, their joys, their fears. You connect on a deeper level than words alone can achieve. And this, my friends, is the foundation of meaningful relationships. When we stop talking to be heard and start listening to understand, trust grows, bonds strengthen, and conflicts dissolve. So, learning to listen is not just a skill, it's a gift you give to yourself and to others. It allows life to reveal its secrets to you, to guide you, to open doors you didn't even know existed. Silence is not emptiness. It is the canvas upon which understanding, empathy, and wisdom are painted. Remember, friends, when you cultivate the habit of listening, when you embrace silence, not as weakness but as a tool, life begins to speak to you in ways that words alone never could. And in that silence, in that careful, mindful attention, you discover the true power of presence, the power to connect, to understand, and to transform both yourself and the world around you. Friends, have you ever felt overwhelmed by life? Have you ever found yourself rushing through decisions, reacting to situations without thinking, only to realize later that things could have been handled so much better if you had just paused for a moment? That, my friends, is the gift of silence, the ability to create space for thought. When we are constantly talking, reacting, or filling every moment with noise, we leave no room for reflection. Our minds become cluttered, our judgments clouded, and our decisions impulsive. But when we embrace silence, when we deliberately step back from the urge to speak or act immediately, something remarkable happens. Our mind begins to sort itself out. Priorities become clearer, confusion begins to dissolve. What seemed urgent suddenly appears trivial, and what seemed impossible now has a path forward. Think about it like this. When you are alone in a quiet room, free from distractions, your mind has the freedom to explore, to connect the dots, to see the bigger picture. Ideas that never surfaced in the chaos of constant chatter begin to emerge. Solutions appear where there were only problems. Peace replaces anxiety. Decisions become more thoughtful, more balanced, and far more effective. Silence gives your mind the clarity that words alone cannot provide. And it's not just about making better choices. It's about understanding yourself. In the quiet, you confront your own thoughts, fears, and desires. You begin to see patterns in your behavior, tendencies you never noticed, and emotions you often ignored. You become aware of the I am, impact of your actions, the roots of your frustrations, and the seeds of your joy. Silence allows self-reflection, and self-reflection leads to growth, wisdom, and ultimately freedom. Imagine life as a river, constantly flowing, constantly moving. If you try to control it with constant noise, with endless words and reactions, you only create turbulence, confusion, and chaos. But when you pause, when you remain silent, you let the river flow naturally. You observe its current, understand its rhythm, and then, with clarity and confidence, you can decide how to navigate it. This is the power of creating mental space through silence. It transforms reactive living into thoughtful, intentional living. The most successful people, the wisest leaders, and the most peaceful souls all understand this principle. They speak less impulsively, they listen deeply, and they take time to reflect. And in that reflection, they find answers, clarity, and direction that others can only hope to stumble upon in the noise of everyday life. So, my friends, silence is not emptiness. It is a powerful tool. It is the space where clarity is born, where thoughtfulness is nurtured, and where life begins to reveal its deeper truths. By embracing moments of quiet, by giving your mind the room to think and reflect, you unlock a level of understanding, creativity, and wisdom that words alone could never bring. And when you act from this space of clarity, every decision, every relationship, and every action becomes more meaningful, more impactful, and more aligned with the life you truly desire. Friends, emotions, they are powerful. Anger, frustration, jealousy, impatience, these are feelings we all experience. And when they rise within us, they can feel uncontrollable, like a storm raging inside. How often have we said or done things in the heat of the moment, only to regret them later? How often have relationships been strained, opportunities lost, or peace disturbed because we let our emotions control our actions? This is why learning the art of silence is so transformative. Silence is not empty, it is the calm within the storm, the pause that allows us to regain control over ourselves. When an intense emotion arises, the natural urge is to react immediately. Anger makes us speak harshly. Fear makes us withdraw or lash out. Jealousy makes us criticize or compare. But these reactive moments rarely serve us. They often lead to conflict, misunderstanding, and regret. Silence, however, allows us to step back, to observe the emotion without being consumed by it. It gives us a chance to breathe, to reflect, and to ask ourselves, what is really happening here? What do I want to achieve? Will my reaction help or hurt? In that quiet moment, power shifts from the emotion to your awareness. Think about it this way. Emotions are like fire. When uncontrolled, fire can burn everything in its path. But when you learn to manage it, fire becomes a source of warmth, light, and energy. Silence is that pause, that control, that wisdom which allows you to channel your emotional energy constructively rather than destructively. It transforms reactive energy into thoughtful action, conflict into understanding, and frustration into patience. The people who navigate life most gracefully are not those who never feel anger, sadness, or fear. They are the ones who know how to respond rather than react. They use silence as a tool to gain perspective. They don't let a heated word or a challenging situation dictate their behavior. Instead, they pause, observe, and choose a response that aligns with their values and long-term well-being. And in doing so, they preserve relationships, maintain respect, and foster harmony in their lives. Moreover, silence in emotional moments creates space for empathy. When you are calm, when you resist the urge to react immediately, you can see the situation from another person's perspective. You can hear not just their words, but the intentions, fears, and struggles behind them. This deep understanding would be impossible if you were reacting impulsively. Silence turns emotional intelligence into a habit, and emotional intelligence, my friends, is one of the most powerful skills a human being can cultivate. So, remember this. Controlling your emotions does not mean suppressing them. It means pausing, creating a space between feeling and action, and letting wisdom guide your behavior. Every time you practice this, every time you hold your tongue instead of reacting, you strengthen your mind, protect your relationships, and invite peace into your life. The world around you may be chaotic, but in that moment of silence, you find your center. And from that center, you act with clarity, compassion, and courage, turning challenges into opportunities and conflict into growth. Silence in moments of emotional intensity is not weakness, it is strength. It is the quiet power that allows life to unfold with grace rather than chaos. And the more you practice it, the more you will realize that the true measure of a person is not how loudly they speak in anger, but how wisely they respond in silence. Friends, have you ever noticed how often we speak just to fill the silence? How often we talk to be heard, to prove a point, or to show that we are important. And yet, in doing so, we often dilute the very power of our words. The truth is, speaking less is not about holding back out of fear or shyness. It is about understanding that words have weight, And when used wisely, they can inspire, uplift, and transform. Silence, my friends, makes our words meaningful. When you speak less, people listen more. There is a natural tendency in humans to value that which is scarce, and words, when abundant, can lose their impact. But words spoken thoughtfully, after reflection, carry a resonance that lingers far beyond the moment. Imagine a teacher who rarely speaks, but when they do, every word is profound and memorable. Or a leader who chooses carefully what to say, and their words motivate, guide, and inspire. This is the power of measured speech, words amplified by the quiet that precedes them. Speaking less also encourages humility. It reminds us that we do not always have to assert our presence, prove our knowledge, or dominate conversations. Sometimes the greatest strength is the restraint to remain silent, to observe, and to let others speak. In that space, relationships grow, trust deepens, and mutual respect flourishes. People are drawn not to those who speak endlessly, but to those who speak meaningfully, whose words carry thought, empathy, and insight. And here's something even more profound. Speaking less allows you to speak truth. When we are constantly talking, we risk saying things we do not fully believe, things that are reactive, shallow, or impulsive. Silence gives us the pause to align our thoughts with our words, ensuring that what comes out of our mouth is authentic, valuable, and constructive. Every word then becomes a reflection of our integrity, a beacon of our character, and a tool for positive influence. Furthermore, speaking less gives you the gift of observation. When you are quiet, you notice things others miss. You see emotions, intentions, and dynamics that reveal the true nature of situations and people. In this way, silence is not emptiness. It is learning, understanding, and empowerment. By cultivating the habit of measured speech, you are not just preserving your own energy, you are also creating space for wisdom to flow, for insights to emerge, and for life to teach you its subtle lessons. So, my friends, let us remember that the power of speech is not in its volume or frequency, but in its timing, thoughtfulness, and intention. Speak less, but speak wisely. Let your words be like precious gems, rare and beautiful, treasured by those who hear them. And as you do this, you will find that people listen more intently, respect you more deeply, and that your influence in the world grows. Not because you speak constantly, but because when you do speak, it truly matters. In the quiet, the mind gains clarity. In the quiet, relationships gain trust. In the quiet, life opens its doors to opportunities that words alone cannot create. Silence, friends, is the secret ingredient that transforms ordinary speech into extraordinary communication, ordinary influence into profound impact. And when you learn to harness this, life begins to unfold in a way that is powerful, peaceful, and deeply fulfilling. Friends, relationships, they are the very heart of our lives. Yet so often we underestimate the power of silence within them. We think communication is only about talking, about expressing ourselves constantly, about being heard. But the truth is, some of the strongest bonds are built not by words, but by the willingness to listen, to pause, and to allow space for the other person to be truly understood. Silence strengthens relationships in ways words alone never can. When we talk too much, we risk overwhelming those around us. We may speak out of habit, out of ego, or out of the desire to control the conversation. And in doing so, we sometimes miss the deeper needs, the subtle feelings, and the unspoken truths of the people we care about most. But when we practice silence, when we consciously choose to listen more than we speak, we create a safe space for others to open their hearts. They feel valued, they feel seen. And that, my friends, is the foundation. Trust. Think about your closest relationships. How many misunderstandings could have been avoided if we had simply paused, if we had simply listened without judgment or interruption? How many arguments could have been prevented if we had given the other person space to speak and to be heard? Listening is not passive. It is an act of love, an act of respect, and an act of deep courage. It requires us to put aside our own need to respond, to control, or to win. It asks us to be present fully, to meet another person not with our words, but with our attention and understanding. Silence in relationships also teaches patience. It allows us to resist the urge to react immediately, to judge too quickly, or to impose our own perspective. In that pause, we discover empathy. We start to see the world through the eyes of the other person, to feel what they feel, and to respond in a way that nurtures connection rather than conflict. It is in these quiet moments that relationships are truly strengthened, when both hearts feel heard and understood without interruption, without argument, without defensiveness. And here is something remarkable. When you speak less and listen more, you often discover things that words alone could never convey. A friend's silence may tell you more about their inner world than 1,000 words ever could. A partner's hesitation, a child's glance, a colleague's tone, these subtle signals, easily missed when we are busy speaking, are illuminated when we choose the path of mindful silence. We begin to understand not just what is said, but what is felt, what is intended, and what is needed. So friends, if you wish to deepen your connections, if you wish to experience the joy of truly meaningful relationships, practice the art of listening through silence. Do not rush to fill every moment with words. Do not react impulsively. Do not assume that your voice must always dominate the conversation. Instead, pause, observe, and allow the other person's words, emotions, and presence to flow. In that space, love grows, trust flourishes, and relationships transform into bonds that are unshakable and enduring. Remember, the most profound connections are often quiet. They are not loud or boastful. They are not measured by the number of words exchanged, but by the depth of understanding, empathy, and presence shared. Silence in relationships is not emptiness. It is the language of care, respect, and wisdom. And when we embrace it, we create relationships that are not just happy, but truly harmonious, meaningful, and life-changing. Friends, have you ever noticed how much energy we waste on gossip, complaints, and negativity? How easily we get drawn into conversations that serve no purpose other than to criticize, judge, or complain about others. These are the small, seemingly harmless words and habits that quietly rob us of peace, happiness, and clarity. And the simple truth is, one of the most powerful ways to preserve your peace of mind is to practice silence in the face of negativity, to refuse to engage in gossip and destructive chatter. When we speak negatively about others, even in private or in jest, we are planting seeds, not in their life but in our own. Negativity feeds the mind, cultivates resentment, and subtly shapes our perception of the world. It keeps us trapped in cycles of anger, envy, and frustration. But when we choose silence instead, we break free. Silence acts as a shield, protecting us from unnecessary drama, toxic energy, and emotional exhaustion. It allows us to rise above petty conflicts and focus on what truly matters: our growth, our relationships, and our inner peace. Think about the impact of words. A single careless comment, a passing criticism, a shared rumor. These can harm reputations, destroy TR, and strain relationships. And once spoken, words cannot be taken back. Silence, in contrast, prevents this harm. It gives us the wisdom to know when to speak and when to hold back, when to contribute positively and when to simply observe. By resisting the urge to indulge in gossip or negativity, we protect not only others but ourselves from conflict, from regret, and from the drain of unnecessary emotional burden. Furthermore, avoiding gossip and negative talk cultivates respect. People notice when you don't participate in drama, when you maintain integrity in your speech, and when you choose kindness over criticism. Silence signals strength, wisdom, and emotional maturity. It shows that you are in control of your words and your mind, rather than being controlled by fleeting emotions or social pressures. And in this way, silence becomes a magnet for trust, admiration, and meaningful connections. But there is more. Silence in the face of negativity creates space for higher thinking, for reflection, and for understanding. When you are not distracted by gossip or complaints, your mind is free to focus on solutions rather than problems, on compassion rather than judgment, and on growth rather than blame. You start to see life more clearly, to appreciate what is truly important, and to respond to challenges with calmness rather than reactivity. Friends, life is too short to waste energy on things that do not serve our growth, our peace, or our happiness. Silence is not merely the absence of words. It is the presence of wisdom, discernment, and self-control. By choosing silence over gossip, by refusing to be drawn into negativity, we create an environment within ourselves that is calm, clear, and constructive. And in that environment, relationships deepen, opportunities flourish, and life begins to flow with harmony rather than chaos. So the next time you feel the urge to speak harshly, criticize someone, or indulge in gossip, pause. Remember the power of silence. Remember that every word carries energy, and that words spoken without purpose can harm more than they help. Choose to stay quiet, and you will find that peace, clarity, and respect follow naturally. In the quiet, life unfolds with beauty, wisdom, and grace. And that, my friends, is the transformative power of silence against negativity. Friends, have you ever paused in the midst of life's chaos and asked yourself, who am I? What do I really want? What am I feeling right now? Most of the time, we are so caught up in doing, reacting, and pleasing others that we rarely take the time to look inward. Yet, the journey of self-awareness, the journey of truly understanding ourselves, begins with silence. When we stop talking, when we step back from distractions and noise, we create a space to explore the deepest layers of our mind and heart. Silence allows us to confront our own thoughts and emotions without judgment. In that quiet, we notice our fears, our doubts, and our insecurities, things that often drive our decisions without us realizing it. We start to see the patterns in our behavior, the habits that no longer serve us, and the beliefs that shape the way we see the world. This self-awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, we can see clearly what was hidden, and we are able to navigate our lives with more clarity, honesty, and purpose. But self-awareness is not just about understanding our weaknesses. It is also about discovering our strengths, our passions, and our potential. In moments of quiet reflection, we realize what truly brings us joy, what motivates us, and what makes us feel alive. These insights cannot be found in noise or distraction. They emerge only when we allow ourselves to be still and listen to our own inner voice. And the more we practice this, the more our actions, decisions, and relationships align with our authentic self. Silence also helps us develop emotional resilience. When we take the time to observe our own feelings without immediately reacting, we learn to manage them better. We recognize triggers, understand our responses, and gradually gain control over emotions that previously felt overwhelming. This self-mastery, born from quiet reflection, allows us to navigate life's challenges with grace, patience, and wisdom. Moreover, self-awareness cultivated through silence improves our relationships with others. When we understand ourselves, we understand our needs, our boundaries, and our limitations. We begin to communicate more honestly, listen more empathetically, and respond with clarity rather than confusion. By being attuned to our own inner world, we become better equipped to connect deeply, support sincerely, and love authentically. Friends, in a world filled with endless noise, distractions, and constant demands, silence is a rare and precious gift. It is the gateway to understanding ourselves, to discovering our purpose, and to living a life of intention rather than habit. By embracing moments of quiet, we allow wisdom, insight, and clarity to emerge. We begin to see the bigger picture, to make choices aligned with our values, and to cultivate peace within ourselves that is unshaken by external circumstances. So let us not fear silence. Let us not rush to fill every moment with words, distractions, or activity. Instead, let us welcome it, embrace it, and use it as a mirror to explore who we truly are. In that stillness, life reveals its truths, and we discover the power, potential, and peace that have always been within us. Silence is not emptiness. It is the doorway to self-awareness, and through it a life of authenticity, clarity, and profound fulfillment unfolds. F. Rents. Have you ever felt restless, impatient, or frustrated because life didn't move according to your schedule? How often do we want things to happen instantly? Solutions to problems, results from efforts, or clarity from confusion, only to feel disappointed when the timing isn't right? This is where the power of silence and patience comes in. When we embrace quiet, we learn to wait. We learn to let life unfold at its own pace, and in that waiting, something remarkable happens. We grow. Silence nurtures patience because it teaches us to step back from the immediate urge to control, to push, or to force outcomes. It allows us to observe, to reflect, and to trust the natural rhythm of life. Just as a farmer cannot make a seed sprout faster by digging it up or shaking it, we cannot rush the unfolding of life's events. In quiet observation, we learn to let time do its work while we prepare ourselves, grow, and strengthen our understanding. Patience cultivated in silence is not passive. It is active wisdom, a readiness to act at the right moment with clarity, insight, and confidence. When we are silent, we notice the subtle lessons in life. Challenges that seemed frustrating or unfair begin to reveal their purpose. Opportunities that felt delayed are teaching us preparation, resilience, and discernment. In those quiet moments of waiting, we discover that life has been shaping us in ways we could not see when we were constantly rushing or reacting. Patience born from silence transforms obstacles into teachers, delays into preparation, and struggles into strength. Moreover, silence allows us to reflect on our expectations. Often, impatience stems not from life itself, but from our desire for instant gratification or control. By practicing quiet reflection, we begin to recognize these tendencies within ourselves. We learn to adjust our mindset, to release unrealistic expectations, and to embrace life as it is, rather than how we wish it to be. In doing so, we experience less stress, more clarity, and a deeper sense of peace. Silence also strengthens resilience. When we are able to wait, observe, and reflect, we become less reactive to life's ups and downs. We no longer chase every fleeting desire or react to every challenge impulsively. Instead, we develop the ability to respond thoughtfully, with wisdom and composure. And as we cultivate this resilience,